In this episode, we look at why journaling matters. Get excited because this is Tiny Leaps. Big change. Welcome to another episode of Tiny Leaps, Big Changes, where I share simple strategies you can use to get more out of your life. My name is Gregg Clunis, and in this episode, we are looking at some of the reasons that journaling is valuable. My hope here is that if you're on the fence, if you've been considering starting to daily journal or journal more often, and you're just not sure about it, hopefully this episode will help push you over the edge and help you understand why it's such an important thing for your personal development, for your growth, for your ability to see progress, so on, so forth. So I'm super excited for this episode. I think it'll be really good. But before we jump into it, I got to remind you to take the survey. There are only, I believe, 7 days left before I'm pulling it down. I'm running this through January. And when you take the survey, you'll be entered for a chance to win one of 3 $50 Amazon gift cards. So head over to tinyleaps.fm/survey. That's tinyleaps.fm/survey. And when you do take the survey, and you'll be entered for a chance to win one of 3 $50 gift cards. So really, there's no reason not to. And there's a very short window of time left. So make sure you do that, tinyleaps.fm/survey. So let's jump into the episode here. Why is journaling important? Why is it something that I honestly believe everyone should be doing? Even if you don't do it daily, like, you should be journaling pretty regularly. What are some of the reasons for that? Well, number one is that it'll actually help you to stay focused. Now, what do I mean? If you are going through your day-to-day life, right, you've got this idea, that idea, this thing to worry about, this thing to stress about, this, and this to worry about. You have to worry about making dinner maybe, or feeding your kids or your dog or whatever it is, right? You've got 1.5 million things on your mind constantly. What happens is, over time, all of that stuff, it kind of builds up. Even if you're not actually thinking about something anymore, it's just sitting in the back of your head, right? It's at the subconscious level. And all of that weighs on you, and it's distracting you, and it makes it easier for you to go in and out of states of focus. When you journal regularly, when you write things down regularly, you give your brain the space it needs, right? You're taking things out of your head and putting them on paper, and that gives you the signal, your brain the signal that, hey, we can stop worrying about this. It's being handled. It was recorded somewhere, right? So I'm not going to lose it. And the sort of side benefit of that, of recording those things, is that now, in those moments when you're trying to focus on tasks, you have less going on in your head. You have less weight on those shoulders of yours. And so you're able to stay in a state of focus for a longer period of time. This is something I've seen with many of the people in my life, people that are around me, and myself, quite frankly, where if you have a lot on your mind constantly forever, and you're never really taking the space to work through those things and think through those things, you end up feeling more anxious more often. You end up losing your cool more often. You end up being unable to focus, and everything just sort of feels scattered and all over the place. And it's because your brain is basically cluttered, right? If you think about like a messy desk and how it feels like you have no idea where anything else is, it feels like you can't control your environment. Like, that's what's happening. It's just happening in your brain, and then that affects your behaviors in real life. So number one reason, in my opinion, to start journaling more often is to give your brain more space, to declutter, to allow yourself the ability to stay focused for longer, to reduce anxiety and many of the other things that come from feeling more in control and feeling more organized with all the things that you have to worry about on a day-to-day basis. Number two is actually one of my favorites, and it's that you can revisit your past self, right? You can journal currently, and 3 years from now, look back at those pages and recognize yourself in those pages, even if you've moved a long way from then. This is something that I like to do from time to time. I have the same journal I've been writing in since 2015. I don't journal every single day, and so it's taking me quite a while to fill it. But one of the cool benefits of that is I can go back to the first page and see what was on my mind December 20th, 2015. I can see the original ideas for Tiny Leaps. I can see the book concept. I can see so many things that have happened over the years that and revisit that version of myself. And as a benefit of all of that, I can also see progress, right? If I'm ever in the moment feeling like everything I'm doing is failing, nothing's really working out, like I'm not where I want to be, blah, 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 like I can just look back at my journal and I can see on this date 3 years ago, I didn't know where rent was coming from. On this date 2 years ago, I lost 3 of my clients. On this date 1 year ago, like I had this idea. Like I can see how things have changed and what the progress has looked like. And it can remind me that, you know what, it might not feel like it. In the moment, it doesn't feel like it, but I have made progress. I have changed. I have improved. I have been working hard and getting things for it. It's just that I've adapted to those things. And so it's hard to sort of see the trail when you look backwards. It's only when you can look at the pages and see where you actually were that you get to see that progress as clear as day. A third benefit is that you get to document your story, right? So that journey of where you are now, where you started, you can document that through the next 10, 15, 20, 35 years, whatever period of time you decide you want to be focused on this. You can journal every single day and have those memories to revisit, have those memories to look back on, but more importantly, pass those memories on. One of the courses I'm enrolled in right now is around stock market trading, and he recommends keeping a stock journal essentially. So every single day, writing down the different companies that you're watching, like writing down what's happening with their stock price, why you think it's happening, what's going on in the news, things like that. And the big reason for it is, one, it teaches you how to analyze these things. But number two, you can hand that to your kids. You can hand that to your grandkids. If somebody else in your life is interested in stocks later on, you can give them essentially a diary of the history of these stocks so that they can see how prices have changed over time, how the news has affected things. And when those things happen again in the future, they can be prepared for it because you gave them the history. It's the same thing with your life. Like you can tell stories to your kids, tell stories to your grandkids. You can show home videos, but another way of sharing that story with them, sharing that journey with them, and teaching them life lessons is to give them a journal. Imagine if you don't have a child now, let's say you have a child 10 years from now, 15 years from now, right? And you go through your life, you're keeping this daily journal, you're documenting everything that's going on, and at your passing, which hopefully is not anytime soon, but at your passing, you give that journal to your grandkid. Now your grandkid has lessons from you directly about how to live, how to be a good person, how to navigate certain situations, what matters in the world. Like you can give that to them because it's a physical thing. Or you don't have to. You can keep it for yourself, keep that story for yourself, but be able to revisit it later on in your life. The point is you get to document a piece of your life and remember it whenever you want to remember it, or hand it to somebody else if that's what you choose. And then finally, the one of the last big benefits of journaling, in my opinion, is that it forces you to get clarity. All right. So if you are working through an idea, working through a thought, working through a concept, and you're worried about whatever it is, right? One of the big things that journaling does, writing those thoughts down, is that you have to transfer what's in your head to the page. And sometimes the language isn't that easy to find. So what do you have to do? Well, you have to actually think through it. You have to translate it. Because if your head is thinking in some other language that makes sense to you, and you need to now write it down into language that makes sense to everybody, you have to make that leap. That means thinking through what's actually important, thinking through what matters, thinking through what's going to communicate this in the best way possible, and then committing those things to paper. By going through that process, you are forced to get clarity on these things. Now, that's not going to be important for everything. Some things are just minor thoughts that you just want to get out of your head. Some things are just minor events, but some things are really great ideas. And if you're forced to think through them, they become better ideas. And so now you have a great idea, something that you can actually act on, something that could potentially change your life. And because you've documented it, because you've gone through the process of journaling about it, Now you're clear on it. Now you can communicate. Now you can sell other people on it. Now you can raise money around it. Now you can sell it. Now you can do whatever you want with it. You can turn it into something or leave it alone. But you have the tools to do what you need because it's out of your head. It's now in a language that everyone can understand. So those are the 4 big benefits, in my opinion, of journaling. If you're watching us on YouTube, and if you're not, head over to youtube.com/Gregg Clunis. But if you are on YouTube, drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like, what are your benefits of journaling? Why do you journal? If you already journal. If you don't journal, why not? Why haven't you started yet? Do you want to start? Leave a comment down below and let me know. Don't forget to click subscribe wherever you're tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, remember that all big changes come from the tiny leaps you take every day.